What's up, Visionaries? It's your boy Kaz, giving you an in-depth Deathloop combat and survival guide. This is a loop game like Hades and Returnal, and so the longer you're alive, the better equipment you're going to get, the more experience. And so it's critical to stay alive. The longer you stay alive, the higher the stakes. And you know I love giving you combat guides. So here's 13 essential tips and tricks for combat and staying alive to break that loop. Don't forget to like this video, give it a thumbs up if it does anything for you. Don't forget to follow me at Midnight Lights at Twitter and subscribe for all of my combat guides. I really try and provide more in-depth guides, things that are really going to help you have a lot more fun and enjoy these games a lot more. Alright, tip 1 is all of the basics. This is for my noobs out there, and just as a refresher, just know your surroundings, know where guys are, kind of get to the 4 different maps pretty well. That's going to help. Cover is huge. It is one of the most basic and best ways to stay alive, is staying in cover pre-combat, during combat, and stealthing around. You get all kinds of buffs for being in cover. Guys do not see you. It also has this great peek function, which you can see here. So remember that, and also take your time. That's how I like to play. I know people go in guns blazing. I'm going to make a video about that too, but take your time, use all the tools you have available, and make sure your health is full, especially when you know you're going into some combat. Tip 2 is, the genius of this game is that you're as disoriented as Cole is at the beginning. You're trying to figure out what's going on. You don't have good weapons. You're confused. You're very vulnerable. You're likely to die. So during this time, I would just say embrace it. Really try and understand that dying is going to be part of it. I know a survival tip that tells you you're probably going to die may not feel great, but that's really key, and the developers told us this, that really, yep, you're going to die early on, that's part of how you learn. Even Julianne kind of tells you when you die, you learn. And so that's a huge part of the game early on. I am going to give some tips to help you be more effective and die less. But embrace that hump, embrace that early time when you're just figuring out the game and what the hell is going on. Yeah, and so survival tip 3. So I tried to set all of this up in a way that you can adhere to these tips at any point in the game and they're going to help you. And even early on, every time you get a trinket or a new weapon, and as you start to infuse things, at every point you should be very intentional about what you're using. You want to make sure if you can use your PT spiker to stay quiet, good, but you also need something for close range to go loud, like a shotgun or the 4-pounder. You just want to have a plan. That's the biggest thing. So you're locked and loaded. You've got all of your weapons, all your slabs that you want to use. Just have a plan. Am I going to go loud? If I am going to go loud, how can my build out reflect that? Am I going to go quiet? How can my build out reflect that? And then I'll tell you, if you have that plan and execute it, this game just rewards you with fun and entertainment and staying alive nonstop. So get locked and loaded, have a plan, know your style of play, and then execute that style of play. Will go a very long way. Moving right along to survival tip 4, spike 'em and dice 'em and use Nexus if you got it. So spike 'em is using your PT6 spiker. That's your silenced weapon nail gun that is effective early on at getting some of the low-level guys. With just one headshot, a spiker will oftentimes, neutralize an Eternalist. So what I think is really good about this strategy is that no matter where you are in the game, if you're starting out your combat with your spiker and machete and then just going loud when you need to with a shotgun or a mid-range weapon, I've just found a lot of success that way. So the other thing too to note is that the Nexus I found really effective. I do play a little bit more stealthily and try and only go loud when I really have to. And that was most difficult to do when there was just a clump of people together. So throwing grenades or using Nexus often was the strategy that I used, and it kept me alive a lot. So you want to do, like I said, you wanted to use your Spiker PT6 and Machete as much as you can, especially early on, even all the time. And then when you encounter quite a few people, use Nexus or a grenade, something that makes it a little easier to neutralize a bunch of Eternalists at the same time. Survival tip 5 is Loopy Eternalists. So there's just kind of some forgiveness in this game. You'll see I dropped down, I messed up my kill. Still okay, this person doesn't turn around, they're drunk. There's a lot of drunk Eternalists out there, people just trying to party, have a good time, you know. So there's just a bit of forgiveness. You can see here too, I'm going to shoot my PT6 like 3 or 4 times, and this person's not really going to get alerted. The person behind them isn't alerted yet. Now, the further you go on in the day, the later it gets, etc., people seem to be more alert, more aggressive. I just wanted to include this because there is a bit of forgiveness in this game, so you'll have time to sprint up to someone and use the machete. I mean, you can see right here, this is kind of the best, example is this Eternalist just making a snow angel and don't even see the person get spiked. So, moving on, scouts and scouting is tip number 6. You want to look out for these guys in sort of this bronze gold. You can Hackamajig them and it'll turn off their scouting radio. So if you do get seen, they won't call for backup, and backup is bad. Swarms of Eternalists will come when these scouts call for backup. So Hackamajig them, look out for them from the jump, and that will go a long way in helping you stay survive. And then you want to use that down button on PS5, your focus, to find everyone you can. This game's really cool because it kind of sets up combat in these sections that typically are pretty confined. If an alarm doesn't go off, you can be relatively loud and people won't come. So, the stage is set for you. You just got to find people, tag them, and then as we move on to our next survival tip, after you tag them, you want to make a plan and stick to the plan. So tip 7 is get with the program and follow the protocol. So this really is all about, after you do your great scouting, you've invested that time, make a plan. Like, okay, so these two guys are together, I'm going to Nexus them and kill them. There's a turret gun, so I got to be pretty good and slide into that, and there are 2 people who I don't think are going to see each other. Like, make that kind of plan. And then even if your plan doesn't go perfectly, you've still, probably gotten 3 or 4 Eternalists down before your plan goes to crap, and you got to start improvising a little bit, maybe getting your shotgun out. But one of the most gratifying aspects of combat, I think, especially when they set the stage like this, is when you make a plan and it comes together. It feels really good. So get with the program, follow that protocol, y'all. Next, survival tip 8 is height and go peak. So there are great buffers in terms of being higher up to folks not seeing you, to, it seems like, if you're engaging in combat from higher up, of course, that's always going to be a tactical advantage. So try and find height, scout from there. You can see I'm pretty close to that person and they still don't see me. Next is this peak function, getting next to an edge of cover, pressing L2. People will be pretty close to you and not see you even when you're doing that. It's a great aspect of the game. Tip 9, this is the science of listening. This game does a really great job with the audio functionality. You'll walk into a room like this and you'll hear Eternalists and you'll be like, okay, there are Eternalists in here and I need to adapt. Also, they just say really funny stuff a lot of the time. You'll also oftentimes hear footsteps when you're stealthing around. This is also this really cool audio function when people are alerted to your presence. This more hardcore music will start playing. So I killed that guy, no music started, so I knew I was still okay. People weren't alerted, but this guy sees me, the indicator goes red, the music plays really loud, and then it will kind of cut out, and that tells you you're like, okay, so people aren't tracking me, they don't know where I am, people aren't alerted, and that stuff's just really cool. There's a lot of ways that the audio, if you pay close attention, it'll help keep you alive. Tip 10, Hackamajig at every turret. So there are a lot of turrets in this game, also a lot of video surveillance cameras. You just want to hack them when you see them, and just make sure to do it. It will save you so much energy. I also think picking up and moving turret guns is a really effective strategy against Julianne. Tip 11, don't be alarmed. Yeah, so don't set off alarms. Alarms are one of the fastest, most efficient ways to die, to not stay alive. So really try to get those scouts and kill them. Don't let them call for backup. Don't go loud unless you have to. That's my personal tip if you want to stay alive. Alarms are just brutal. You could see that scout ran away. I didn't get him. He set off the alarm. And you'll hear it. Sometimes there are alarms in some of the rooms, and sometimes there is not. Now, when you do have to go loud, I would say go loud. Commit to it. Pull out your mid and short range weapons like your shotguns, and just start going after guys. Find cover, find where they are, shoot and move. Use that dart function, which is when you're going in any direction. If you press down L3 on PS5, you'll dart in that direction. It's extremely effective. You want to remember people are going to be charging at you. You want to try and flank folks. I'm not in cover all the time, but I do try and use cover as effectively as I can, even when I'm going loud. Close range, I'll sometimes bring out my machete because they make that easy. All you have to do is press R1, your machete comes right out. So those are some of the things that I do when I go loud. I really try and commit to it and efficiently clean things up. And then again, you can kind of hear out for where other people are and go and clean up. So tip 12, when you go loud, baby. So with tip 13, I did want to spend some time on player versus player and Juliana. So tip number 13 is Julienne Julianne. I really just wanted to make some space to tell you how I worked against Juliana, how I tried to beat Juliana. And there were a couple of strategies that worked well for me. One is in player versus player, I would start out by trying to create a trap, trying to create a place where I thought they might come that was maybe close to a health station. I would lay out some landmines or, landmine grenades. And yeah, I would lay low for a little bit, see if I could catch them, see if I could hear them when you go to first player, when you don't do player versus player, if you put on your closed captioning, it's pretty great. If Julianne is nearby, she might talk. And when she does, you can hear it or it'll pop up on your screen in closed captioning, and that lets you know she's pretty nearby, which is really great. Now, some player versus players, what they do is they'll go to where the visionary is and they'll camp out there. So I would spend a little time doing this. I really also liked the ether slab, the one that helps you go invisible. That helped me in this a lot too. So when I got out of cover, I try and use the ether slab, which helped. But if it didn't work for a while, I would try and just slowly make my way to the visionary, really keeping an eye out for where they might be camping out. And that I found a lot of success doing that. Eventually, I did go to just single player because I didn't love the functionality of the player versus player stuff all the time and found it pretty fun to work against the computer or the NPC. So with that, you can see here she sort of fell into my trap. She walked into one grenade, I shotgunned her a couple times, and then she walked into another, and that was pretty satisfying. So those are some of my tips with Julianne. I would say lay low, and then if that's not working for you, get close to the visionary and just be very attentive. I was not the protagonist. I tried not to be too proactive. I tried to find a way for Julianne to come to me. My bonus tip is have fun, make it yours. This game absolutely rewards you if you get a build out for yourself and then follow that build out if you want to be stealthy or loud or whatever. It does a lot of rewards if you do trinkets that follow up your combat style. It just makes for this very, very fun gameplay that I can't tell you enough how much fun I had when I sort of found my style and then tried to just have fun with combat. So I hope this combat and survival guide helps. Again, it's Cos with Midnight Lights Gaming. Give me a thumbs up if this video did anything for you. Subscribe and follow me on Twitter.
Nope, that's there. I'm seeing it.